Every decade has its unique design quirks, and the 1970s was no exception. Homes from this era have a distinct style that's instantly recognizable, even to younger generations. Beyond the obvious shag carpeting, avocado appliances, and disco-era flair, there were countless unusual features that homeowners considered essential, from sunken living rooms and conversation pits to colored toilets and wood-paneled walls. These architectural oddities defined the era's approach to style and comfort. Many of these features were bold, experimental, and sometimes impractical, yet they reflected the optimism and creativity of the time. Families who grew up in 70s homes didn't see them as strange. They were simply normal parts of daily life. Today, looking back, these design choices feel quirky, nostalgic, and occasionally hilarious. But at the time, they represented the cutting edge of home design, capturing a decade's willingness to embrace bold aesthetics, playful experimentation, and a distinctly 70s sense of modern living. Conversation pits, the sunken living room craze. One of the most iconic features of a 1970s home was the conversation pit. And yes, that's exactly what it sounds like. It was a sunken area in the living room, usually a few steps down from the main floor, that was designed specifically for gathering and socializing. The idea behind conversation pits was to create an intimate space where family and guests could sit facing each other, rather than all staring at the television. It was considered the height of sophistication and modern design. Home builders would excavate a section of the living room floor and fill it with built-in seating or arrange couches and chairs in a square or circular pattern. These sunken spaces were often carpeted in thick shag and surrounded by railings or low walls to prevent anyone from accidentally stepping into the pit. In the dark, some of the more elaborate designs included built-in bars or even fireplaces right in the center of the conversation area. The problem with conversation pits became apparent pretty quickly. They were difficult to clean underneath the built-in seating. They posed a tripping hazard especially for elderly visitors and young children. And let's be honest, most families ended up just watching television from the regular living room anyway. By the 1980s, conversation pits were seen as dated, and many homeowners actually filled them in to create level floors. But for those who lived through the 70s, these architectural features represented the ultimate in cool modern living and hosting a party. In your conversation, pit was absolutely something to brag about. Avocado green and harvest gold appliances. If you walked into a 1970s kitchen, you would most likely be greeted by appliances and shades that would make today's homeowners cringe. Avocado green and harvest gold were the dominant colors for refrigerators, stoves, dishwashers, and even small appliances like toasters and mixers. This color trend didn't happen by accident. Appliance manufacturers decided that white and chrome appliances were too sterile and boring. So they introduced earth tones that were supposed to make kitchens feel warmer and more inviting. Avocado green was meant to evoke nature and freshness, while harvest gold represented sunshine and abundance. Major brands like General Electric, Whirlpool, and Frigidaire all jumped on the colored appliance bandwagon. And by the mid-70s, it was actually harder to find traditional white appliances than colored ones. Some families coordinated their entire kitchen around these colors, choosing curtains, dish towels, and even countertops to match the appeal of these colored appliances was that they were supposed to hide dirt and fingerprints better than white. But in reality, avocado green and harvest gold showed wear and tear just as much, if not more, than their white counterparts. The colors would fade over time, and scratches were incredibly noticeable. Another problem was that when tastes changed in the 1980s and everyone suddenly wanted white or stainless steel, appliances homeowners were stuck with expensive avocado green refrigerators that still worked perfectly fine, but looked hopelessly outdated. replacing all your appliances just because the color went out of style was a luxury many families couldn't afford. Today, finding an original avocado green stove or harvest gold refrigerator in working condition has become something of a novelty, and vintage home enthusiasts actually seek them out. But back in the 70s, these colors weren't retro or ironic. They were simply the standard, and everyone thought they looked absolutely fantastic. Popcorn ceilings were everywhere. If there's one feature that defines 1970s homes, it's the popcorn ceiling, also known as acoustic ceiling or stipple ceiling. This texture treatment was applied to ceilings throughout the house, and it had a bumpy cottage cheese-like appearance that's impossible to forget. Popcorn ceilings became popular for several practical reasons. First, they were incredibly easy and inexpensive to apply. Contractors could spray the texture onto ceilings, quickly covering up any imperfections, cracks, or uneven surfaces without having to do detailed finishing work. This made construction faster and cheaper. Second, the texture was marketed as having acoustic properties that could reduce noise in a room. The bumpy surface was supposed to absorb sound, which made it popular in apartments, condos, and homes where noise reduction was desirable. Whether it actually worked as advertised is debatable, but home builders loved the cost. Savings the texture was typically made from a mixture of paint and either styrofoam or vermiculite. Creating that distinctive bumpy appearance, some versions even included glitter or metallic flakes that would sparkle when light hit the ceiling, which was considered very glamorous. At the time, the problem with popcorn ceilings became apparent years later. First, they were nearly impossible to clean. Dust and cobwebs would settle into all those little bumps, and trying to wipe them clean would just damage the texture. Second, and much more seriously, many popcorn ceilings applied before 1978 contained asbestos. When homeowners discovered their ceilings contained asbestos, removal became a major health concern and an expensive undertaking. You couldn't just scrape it off, because that would release asbestos fibers into the air. Professional abatement was required, which could cost thousands of dollars. Even popcorn ceilings without asbestos were difficult to repair. If a section got damaged, you had to try to match the original texture, which was nearly impossible. By the 1990s, smooth ceilings came back into fashion, and countless homeowners spent weekends scraping off popcorn texture. But for those who grew up in the 70s, looking up at that bumpy ceiling was just a normal part of home life. Wall-to-wall carpeting in every room. During the 1970s, wall-to-wall carpeting wasn't just for bedrooms and living rooms. It was installed in every single room of the house, including kitchens, bathrooms, and even laundry rooms. This seems absolutely crazy by today's standards, but back then, it was considered the height of luxury and comfort. The appeal of wall-to-wall carpeting was pretty straightforward. It made homes feel warm and cozy. It reduced noise from footsteps, and it came in a wild array of colors and patterns that matched the bold aesthetic of the decade. You could get carpeting in rust, orange moss, green sunshine, yellow, or wild. Geometric patterns installing carpet in kitchens was particularly popular because it was more comfortable to stand on than hard tile or linoleum while cooking and doing dishes. The fact that kitchen carpeting would quickly become stained from spilled food and grease didn't seem to deter anyone. Manufacturers marketed special kitchen carpeting that was supposedly stain-resistant and easy to clean. Bathroom carpeting was even more questionable. Homeowners would carpet around toilets and even inside bathtub enclosures. There were special toilet lid covers and tank covers made from matching shag carpeting to complete the look. The obvious hygiene issues with carpet in bathrooms apparently weren't a major concern. The thickness of 1970s carpeting was also notable. Shag carpeting could be 2 or 3 inches deep, creating a plush, luxurious feeling. Underfoot vacuum cleaners of the era often struggled with the thick fibers, and things like dropped earrings or loose change would disappear into the carpet, never to be seen again. By the 1980s, the problems with wall-to-wall carpeting became impossible to ignore. It harbored dust mites, allergens, and odors. It showed wear patterns in high-traffic areas, and it was expensive to replace when styles changed hardwood floors and tile. Made a comeback, and suddenly carpet was seen as old-fashioned. Today, most people can't imagine having carpeting in their kitchen or bathroom. But for families in the 70s, it was completely normal, and walking barefoot on that thick plush carpeting throughout your entire home was considered one of life's simple pleasures. The wet bar was a status symbol. No 1970s home was complete without a wet bar, and having one installed was a clear sign that you had made it. The wet bar was typically located in the family room basement or near the conversation pit, and it served as the entertaining hub of the house. A proper wet bar included a small sink with running water, hence the term wet bar, along with a counter space for mixing drinks, cabinets for storing glassware and bottles, and often a small refrigerator for keeping beer and mixers cold. The fanciest wet bars also included wine racks, built-in ice makers, and even draft beer taps. The design aesthetic of these wet bars was distinctly 70s. They often featured mirrors behind the bar to make the space look larger and to show off your bottle collection. The bar front might be covered in wood paneling brick or even decorative tile, and the bar stools had vinyl or leather seats in bold colors. Homeowners took great pride in stocking their wet bars with an impressive array of liquor bottles, having multiple types of whiskey, vodka, gin, and various liqueurs on display, showed sophistication and preparedness for any type of drink request. Cocktail recipe books were displayed prominently, and many bars featured specialized tools like cocktail shakers, muddlers, and citrus zesters. The wet bar was where adults gathered during parties while kids played elsewhere. In the house making cocktails at your home, bar was a skill that 70s homeowners took seriously, and popular drinks of the era, like Harvey Wallbangers, tequila, sunrises, and whiskey sours, all required fresh mixing. Some wet bars were incredibly elaborate, featuring custom lighting, mirrored ceilings, and even small sinks made from copper or brass. The basement wet bar often became the most decorated room in the house, with sports memorabilia, neon signs, and other personal touches, as drinking culture changed and home entertaining became less formal. In later decades, the wet bar fell out of favor. Many were removed during renovations or simply stopped being used. But for homeowners in the 70s, having a fully stocked wet bar where you could play bartender for your guests was an absolute point of pride. Aluminum wiring was standard. Here's a weird fact that most people don't think about when they picture 1970s homes. But it's incredibly important. Many houses built during this decade were wired with aluminum electrical wiring instead of traditional copper. And this seemingly minor detail has caused major headaches for homeowners. Ever since the switch to aluminum wiring happened because of economics in the late 1960s and early 70s, copper prices skyrocketed due to increased demand. Aluminum was much cheaper and lighter than copper, so builders and electricians thought it was a brilliant alternative. Major building codes actually approved aluminum wiring, and millions of homes were constructed with it. At first glance, aluminum wiring seemed like a great innovation. It conducted electricity reasonably well. It was easier for electricians to work with because it was lighter, and it saved builders money on construction costs. Houses could be wired for a fraction of what copper wiring would have cost. The problem started to appear within just a few years. Aluminum has different properties than copper. It expands and contracts more with temperature changes. It oxidizes more quickly, and it's softer and more prone to damage. These properties meant that connections at outlet switches and junction boxes would gradually loosen over time. Loose electrical connections create heat, and heat creates fire. Risk by the mid-70s, reports of house fires caused by aluminum wiring began to surface. The connections would overheat, causing outlets to stop working, or, in worse cases, igniting fires inside walls. Insurance companies started taking notice, and some began charging higher premiums for homes With aluminum wiring, electricians developed special techniques and materials for making aluminum wiring safer, including special connectors and antioxidant paste applied to connections. But many homeowners remained unaware their homes even had aluminum wiring until they tried to sell the property. And the home inspection revealed the issue today. Homes with aluminum wiring can be harder to sell, and many homeowners have chosen to completely rewire their houses with copper at significant expense. Others have had aluminum wiring remediation, done where an electrician installs special connectors at every outlet and switch for families living in 1970s. Homes, the electrical wiring probably wasn't something they thought about much. You flipped switches, lights came on, and everything seemed fine. But this hidden feature of 70s construction turned out to be one of the most problematic design choices of the decade. Mirror tiles. Covered. Entire walls walking into a 1970s home, and one of the main reasons was the abundance of mirror tiles covering entire walls. These weren't elegant floor-to-ceiling mirrors, but rather 12-inch square mirror tiles arranged in grids and stuck directly onto walls. Throughout the house mirror, tiles were incredibly popular because they made small rooms appear larger, and they reflected light, making darker spaces feel brighter and more open. They were also relatively inexpensive and easy for do-it-yourself homeowners to install. You could buy them at any hardware store and mount them with special adhesive. The most common locations for mirror tile walls were dining rooms, hallways, and especially near the wet bar where they would reflect your impressive bottle collection. Some adventurous homeowners even installed them in bedrooms or bathrooms, creating spaces where you could see yourself from multiple angles. The aesthetic appeal of mirror tiles was tied to the glamorous disco era. They caught and reflected light in interesting ways, creating sparkle and visual interest. When combined with the right lighting, they could make a room feel more expensive and sophisticated. At least by 1970s, standards installation seemed simple enough. At first, homeowners would carefully measure and mark where each tile would go, then peel off the adhesive backing and stick the tiles to the wall in a grid pattern. The challenge came in getting them perfectly aligned, because even a slight variation would be glaringly obvious. The problems with mirror tiles became apparent over time. First, they showed every fingerprint, smudge, and water spot, keeping them clean required constant attention. Second, the adhesive would eventually fail, causing tiles to fall off the wall and shatter. This was especially problematic in bathrooms where humidity weakened the adhesive. Trying to remove mirror tiles was a nightmare for homeowners. In later decades, the adhesive bonded so strongly to drywall that removing the tiles often meant removing chunks of wall surface with them. Many people simply covered mirror tile walls with new drywall rather than attempting removal. Some mirror tiles also had beveled edges or smoky tinted glass, which created an extra disco feeling, but also made spaces look darker and more dated once the trend passed by. The 1980s mirror tile walls were considered tacky and outdated, but for those living through the 70s, having a wall of mirrors was absolutely the coolest design feature your home could have. Telephone nooks, built into walls before cell phones and cordless phones became standard equipment. 1970s homes were built with dedicated telephone nooks. These were small built-in spaces specifically designed to house the family's rotary or push-button telephone, and they were considered an essential architectural feature. Telephone nooks were typically located in the kitchen's hallways or near the main entrance to the home. They consisted of a small recessed area in the wall with a little shelf or counter for the phone base, and often included a built-in seat or stool where you could sit during long conversations. Some fancier versions even had a small overhead light and a built-in address book holder. The design made sense for the era when phones were connected to wall jacks with cords that could only stretch so far. Having a designated spot meant the phone wasn't taking up valuable counter space, and the built-in seating acknowledged that phone conversations in the 70s could last for hours. Many telephone nooks also included a small shelf or drawer beneath the phone for storing the phone book, pen, and notepad, for taking messages before answering machines existed. Someone had to write down messages for family members, and that notepad hanging next to the phone was constantly in use. The telephone nook became a natural gathering spot in the home. Teenagers would spend hours sitting in that little nook, with the phone cord stretched across the hallway while they talked to friends. Parents would pace back and forth within the cord's limited range during important business calls. Some creative homeowners decorated their telephone nooks with wallpaper that coordinated with the rest of the kitchen or hallway, and the little shelf might display a decorative ceramic phone or other knickknacks when the actual phone wasn't in use. As cordless phones became affordable in the 1980s, the telephone nook quickly became obsolete. Suddenly you could carry the phone anywhere in the house, and that built-in seating area seemed silly. Many homeowners converted telephone nooks into display spaces for plants, photos, or decorative items. Removing a telephone nook during renovation meant patching drywall and trying to match the existing wall texture, which wasn't always easy. Some people simply left them in place but repurposed the space completely. Today, finding an original telephone nook in a house is like discovering a time capsule, but for families in the 70s, that little built-in spot represented one of the most important communication centers of the entire home. Colored bathroom fixtures. Just like kitchen appliances, bathrooms in 1970s, homes exploded with color gone, were the days of standard white toilet sinks and bathtubs. Instead, homeowners could choose from a rainbow of options, with the most popular colors being pink blue, yellow, avocado, green, and harvest gold. Colored bathroom fixtures were made by all the major manufacturers, including American Standard Kohler and Crane Plumbing. These weren't just painted surfaces, the porcelain itself was colored all the way through, which meant scratches wouldn't reveal white underneath. But it also meant the fixtures were expensive. Matching bathroom sets were the goal. You'd have a colored toilet bathtub and sink all in the same shade, then you'd coordinate towels, bath, mats, shower curtains, and even toilet paper holders. To match, some families went all out and even installed colored bathroom tile in coordinating or contrasting colors. The most popular bathroom color combination was probably pink and black, which was considered incredibly sophisticated. Pink fixtures with black tile accents and silver chrome hardware created a look that was meant to feel glamorous and modern. Avocado green bathrooms were also extremely common, often paired with yellow or orange accents. Some homeowners got really creative with color combinations. You might find a sunny yellow bathtub paired with navy blue tile, or a powder blue toilet in a bathroom with pink wallpaper. These bold choices seem wild by today's standards, but in the 70s they were perfectly acceptable and even encouraged by interior designers. The problems with colored bathroom fixtures emerged when tastes changed. If you wanted to update your bathroom in the 1980s or 90s, but your Harvest Gold toilet still worked perfectly, you faced an expensive decision: replace functioning fixtures. Just because the color was outdated or live with a bathroom that screamed 1970s. Another issue was that repair parts for colored fixtures were harder to find than standard white. If your pink toilet tank cracked, you couldn't just install a white replacement tank. The colors wouldn't match, so you'd need to special order a pink tank or replace the entire toilet by the 1990s. White fixtures had returned as the standard and colored bathroom fixtures were seen as the ultimate in dated design. Countless homeowners ripped out perfectly functional colored toilets and tubs during bathroom renovations. But for those who lived through the 70s, having a bathroom in your favorite color was considered a personal expression and a sign that your home had style and personality. Breakfast bars replaced formal dining. The 1970s brought a major shift in how American families ate together, and home design reflected this change. Formal dining rooms began shrinking or disappearing entirely, replaced by the breakfast bar, a counter-height eating area usually attached to the kitchen. These bars were typically extensions of the kitchen counter with an overhang for bar stools. separating work and dining spaces while maintaining the open, flowing layout that was becoming popular. Breakfast bars were practical and casual. They saved space compared to a full dining room table, encouraged relaxed meals, and were perfect for quick weekday breakfasts. Parents could serve children on the go without the formality of a proper table. Bar stools became a way to express style, coming in every material and color imaginable, from vinyl swivel stools with chrome bases to wooden seats with leather cushions. Some families coordinated colors with the kitchen. Others chose bold contrasts. Beyond meals, breakfast bars became multifunctional hubs. Kids did homework while parents cooked, mail and bills were sorted, and casual entertaining took place around the counter. This trend reflected broader cultural changes: busier families, dual-income households, and fewer formal sit-down dinners. For 70s kids, gathering around the breakfast bar for cereal before school became a defining, everyday memory of home life. Wood paneling dominated every wall. If there's one material that screams 1970s more than any other, it's wood paneling. These sheets of processed wood veneer covered walls in family rooms, basements, bedrooms, and sometimes entire houses, creating a dark, warm aesthetic that was considered the height of cozy sophistication. Panels came in 4x8-foot sheets with vertical grooves to mimic individual planks, in colors ranging from light oak to deep walnut, the darker tones being especially popular. They were nailed or glued directly to studs or over existing drywall. Wood paneling had both practical and aesthetic appeal. It was cheaper and faster to install than drywall and paint, covered wall imperfections, and was durable enough for family life. Aesthetically, it created a den-like atmosphere that felt masculine and outdoorsy. Basements were a prime location. Paneling transformed cold concrete spaces into inviting family rooms, absorbing sound and masking poor lighting. Accent walls behind televisions or sofas added focus, while some homes went full log cabin style, paneling entire rooms. Installation was DIY friendly, making it an affordable update. But as design trends shifted toward bright, open spaces in the 80s and 90s, the dark walls felt oppressive. Removing paneling was labor-intensive, sometimes revealing wall damage, though painting or drywalling over it became common. For 70s kids, those grooved wood walls were simply home. Central vacuum systems. One of the most futuristic features in 1970s homes was the central vacuum system. This built-in cleaning network seemed straight out of the Jetsons, yet many upscale homes actually had them, and homeowners considered them the ultimate modern convenience. A central motor and collection unit, usually in the garage or basement, was connected by PVC pipes to wall outlets in every room. To vacuum, you simply plugged in a lightweight hose and got to work. The appeal was clear: no more lugging a heavy vacuum from room to room, and with the motor located away from living areas, the system was quieter than conventional vacuums. Suction was also stronger, thanks to the larger stationary motor. Some systems even included automatic dustpans and kitchen baseboards, allowing debris to be swept directly into the collection unit. Installing a central vacuum system was expensive and complex, making it a luxury feature best suited for new construction. Over time, issues arose. Leaks in the piping reduced suction, collection units required regular emptying, and repairs meant opening walls. As portable vacuums became lighter and more powerful, central systems lost their edge. Today, functioning 70s-era central vacuums are rare. But for the families lucky enough to have one, it represented cutting-edge technology and made cleaning feel gloriously futuristic. Intercom systems in every room, right alongside central vacuum systems. Another high-tech feature of 1970s homes was the whole-house intercom system. These wired communication networks allowed family members to talk between rooms without shouting, and were considered impressively modern. A typical setup included a master station, usually in the kitchen, and smaller speaker stations in bedrooms, the family room, and sometimes even the garage or patio. All were hardwired during construction, with cables running through the walls. Most master stations included an AM/FM radio that could play through any combination of speakers. Parents could broadcast wake-up music to the kids' rooms, make dinner announcements, or pipe radio programs into the basement or garage. Using the system was simple. Press the button for a room, speak, and wait for a reply. Some systems allowed full two-way conversation, and advanced models even let you communicate with visitors at the front door. Families use these systems constantly, kids requesting snacks, parents checking in from another floor, and everyone enjoying the novelty of whole house audio. But problems eventually emerged. Static developed, speakers failed, and the technology was surpassed by cordless phones and later wireless communication. By the 80s and 90s, most intercoms were abandoned in place, painted over, or disconnected. Today, working systems are rare, but for 70s families, they felt like living in the future. Sunken bathtubs were luxurious. While conversation pits dominated 70s living rooms, the bathroom equivalent of sunken luxury was the sunken bathtub. Installed below floor level and often surrounded by tile or carpeted platforms, these tubs were considered the height of sophistication. Building one required significant construction. Floors had to be excavated, plumbing rerouted beneath the structure, and custom platforms built. As a result, sunken tubs were usually found in upscale master bathrooms or in homes undergoing major renovations. The appeal centered on luxury and romance. Many sunken tubs were oversized, designed for two people, and surrounded by mirrors, plants, candles, and mood lighting. Steps often led down into the bathing area, and the surrounding platforms might be tiled or, in true 70s fashion, carpeted. Positioned near windows or in cozy architectural corners, these tubs created an intimate, spa-like atmosphere. However, the drawbacks quickly became clear. Steps posed slipping hazards, especially in wet environments, and the lowered tub made cleaning difficult and back-straining. Carpeting around the tub was prone to mildew, while platforms collected dust and soap residue. Plumbing repairs were far more complicated because the pipes were buried beneath finished flooring. By the 90s and 2000s, trends shifted toward walk-in showers and freestanding tubs, leaving sunken bathtubs behind. But for 70s homeowners, they represented the ultimate in home luxury. Kitchen soffits concealed everything. If you walked into a 1970s kitchen, one of the first things you'd notice is that the cabinets didn't reach the ceiling. Instead, a soffit, a boxed-in section running around the entire kitchen perimeter, filled the gap. Most people assume soffits were structural, but in reality, they were usually decorative, built to hide wiring, ductwork, or plumbing, and to create a more finished look. With cabinets typically only 30 inches tall and ceilings 8 feet high, the empty space above them felt awkward, so builders filled it in with framed and drywalled soffits. Homeowners often treated the soffit face as a design feature, covering it with wallpaper or painting it in accent colors. Some decorated the area beneath it with plates, ceramic pieces, or silk plants to add personality. Soffits also spared homeowners from cleaning the hard-to-reach space above cabinets where dust and grease collected. However, soffits made kitchens feel lower and more closed in, and they limited storage potential. As trends shifted toward ceiling-height cabinets, soffits quickly looked outdated. Removing them during renovations often revealed utilities that needed to be relocated, or ceilings that required repair. Today, soffits are seen as a hallmark of 70s and 80s design, but for families of the era, they were simply a normal and practical part of the kitchen. Greenhouse windows in the kitchen. Another distinctive feature of 1970s kitchens was the greenhouse window. Unlike standard flat windows, these projected outward from the exterior wall, forming a small glass enclosure that captured abundant sunlight. Made with 3 or 4 angled glass panels and fitted with narrow shelves, they created a mini greenhouse perfect for displaying plants, herbs, or decorative items. The angled design allowed light to enter from multiple directions, making the space ideal for growing greenery right in the kitchen. Their appeal was easy to understand. Greenhouse windows brightened interiors, added visual interest, and gave homeowners a spot to nurture plants even without yard space. Many people grew herbs like basil or thyme, while others filled the shelves with African violets, trailing ivy, or seasonal decorations. However, installation was more complex than a typical window. Because they extended outward, greenhouse windows needed careful sealing, strong structural support, and were more expensive overall. They also revealed drawbacks in extreme weather. Summer heat could scorch plants, while winter cold caused drafts. Cleaning the angled panes was tedious, and some windows eventually leaked, damaging nearby walls. As kitchen design shifted toward clean, minimalist lines, greenhouse windows fell out of fashion. Though still available today, they're far less common. But for 70s families, that sunny little glass box brought nature, light, and a touch of sophistication into everyday kitchen life. Foil wallpaper was high fashion. If you thought regular wallpaper defined the 1970s, you hadn't seen anything until you encountered foil wallpaper. This shiny metallic wall covering was considered incredibly modern and glamorous, appearing in dining rooms, bathrooms, and dramatic accent walls. Made by laminating a thin layer of reflective foil onto paper backing, it came in silver, gold, bronze, and copper, with patterns ranging from geometric prints to florals and wild psychedelic swirls. Its appeal fit perfectly with the disco-era love of shimmer and sparkle. Anything that reflected light felt sophisticated, and foil wallpaper transformed entire rooms into glittering, festive spaces. But installing it was challenging. Walls had to be perfectly smooth because every bump showed through, and professional hangers charged extra to avoid bubbles and wrinkles. Dining rooms were the most common location, where candlelight danced across the foil. Bathrooms were also popular, as the reflective surface created a sense of brightness. But problems appeared quickly. The foil showed fingerprints, smudges, and flaws. It tarnished in humidity, and many homeowners found it visually cold. Removing it later was notoriously difficult, often requiring new drywall. Though the trend faded by the 80s, families who lived with it remember foil wallpaper as the ultimate symbol of 70s glamour. Pass-through windows. Between rooms, pass-through windows were a defining architectural feature of 1970s homes, offering a way to connect rooms while still maintaining some separation. Typically installed between kitchens and dining rooms or family rooms, these openings allowed food, dishes, and conversation to flow easily from one space to another. Some pass-throughs were simple rectangular cutouts with a counter, while others featured shutters, sliding doors, or decorative trim that matched the home's style. The fanciest versions even included small serving bars. Their appeal was practical as well as social. A parent cooking in the kitchen could hand plates directly into the dining room, keep an eye on kids, or chat with family without stepping through doorways. Shelves around the opening provided spots for decor, and the design reflected shifting attitudes about home life, as kitchens slowly evolved from closed-off workspaces into more interactive hubs. Pass-through windows also made entertaining easier. Hosts could prepare drinks or snacks without feeling isolated. But as fully open concept layouts gained popularity in the 80s and 90s, pass-throughs came to feel like outdated compromises. Many were removed entirely during renovations, though patching them seamlessly was often difficult. Today, updated versions are reappearing in vintage-inspired homes, but for 70s families, The classic pass-through represented convenience, connection, and modern living. Terrazzo floors were built to last. While carpet dominated most rooms in 1970s homes, many entryways, basements, and even some kitchens featured terrazzo flooring. This composite material, made from chips of marble, quartz, granite, or glass set into concrete and polished smooth, created durable, elegant floors that could last for generations. Though terrazzo had existed for centuries, it enjoyed a major revival during the mid-century modern era and stayed popular well into the 70s. It could be poured on site for a seamless look or installed as tiles, and homeowners could customize the chip colors to match any decor. Aesthetically, terrazzo offered a speckled, eye-catching surface, with popular 70s combinations in earthy browns, oranges, and golds. Practically, it was almost indestructible, resistant to scratches, dents, and stains, and easy to clean with simple mopping. Its longevity far surpassed vinyl or linoleum. However, installing terrazzo required skilled craftsmen, making it more expensive than other flooring options. Many homes used terrazzo in foyers and basements, where its durability shined. Still, the material had drawbacks. It was cold underfoot, unforgiving if you dropped anything, and difficult to repair seamlessly. As carpeting surged in popularity, some homeowners even covered terrazzo entirely. Today, uncovered original terrazzo is considered a prized vintage feature, admired for its timeless mid-century character. Room dividers instead of walls. The final weird fact about 1970s homes involves how spaces were divided. Instead of building full walls, many houses used decorative room dividers that offered visual separation while maintaining an open, flowing layout. These dividers came in countless styles: wooden screens with geometric cutouts, hanging bead curtains, macrame panels, metal screens with abstract patterns, and even walls made of lush indoor plants. Their popularity was tied to the emerging open concept trend. Families wanted rooms to feel connected, but they still needed subtle boundaries between living, dining, and work areas. Room dividers created definition without closing anything off, and they could be moved or removed as needed. Bead curtains were especially popular in doorways, beloved for the rattling sound they made and the bold colors that matched the era's psychedelic aesthetic. Macrame options reflected the decade's love of handicrafts and DIY decor. Of course, these dividers had drawbacks. Beads tangled and collected dust, macrame got grimy, and wooden screens warped or broke. By the 80s, many felt flimsy and outdated, so homeowners removed them entirely. Yet, for those who grew up around them, the sound of beads in the filtered light through carved screens remains a vivid, nostalgic childhood memory. Stepping into a 1970s home today feels like entering a perfectly preserved time capsule. From conversation pits to colored toilets, wood paneling to shiny foil wallpaper. These design choices defined an era that embraced bold experimentation and modern optimism. Homeowners genuinely believed avocado green appliances, shag carpet, and even bathroom carpeting were stylish upgrades that would stand the test of time. What's fascinating is how quickly these trends became dated. By the 80s and 90s, many features that once felt cutting edge were being ripped out and replaced. Yet, for those who grew up in 70s houses, none of it seemed unusual. The sunken living room was simply where the family gathered. The Harvest Gold fridge held your after-school snacks, and the paneled basement was the backdrop for countless childhood memories. Today, we can look back with nostalgia and humor, appreciating these quirky choices as snapshots of a very specific moment in design history.